My name is Stirling Holmes. I'm an alcoholic. Through God's grace, this program, sponsorship, your fellowship, I have not found it necessary to take a drink since the 2nd of June, 1981. And for that, I'm truly, truly grateful. We try to accept the things we cannot change. The box is not going to be cooperative tonight. So I'm just going to have to make do, which is fine by me. I'm really glad to be here. I really am glad to be here. Thank you so much, Sue, and the committee for asking me to come to Bermuda. I've never been to Bermuda before, so this is my first time. How many people is their first time at this thing? For the very first time? All right. From one newbie to another, welcome. Okay? Now that you know, if you come back, you're going to have to get with some old timers, find out where all the good parking spaces are. And find out how to pay less money for a fish sandwich. I ain't never paid that much money for a fish sandwich in my life. I don't know what your major export is, but it should be fish. Cause y'all can make a lot of money. But I am really grateful to the committee to have me out. I got in yesterday, and I was on a plane full of drunks. So I didn't even know it. You know? But yeah, it's great, and it's been great. If you're just being here for the banquet tonight, you've missed it, because there was some really great stuff being shared. And all I got to do for the next 6 hours is just enthrall you into the things that happen in my life. See, some of y'all got it. Y'all are listening. Old timers already went to sleep. He said, I'm not listening to that stuff right now. You know? But I am. I'm blessed to be here. I'm blessed to be anywhere and sober, but particularly I'm blessed when people come and ask me to share my experience, strength, and hope in a program that has been rather enthusiastic in saving my life on a daily basis. We are the hopeful and the war-torn and ravaged few, but we are here. Everybody, with that sobriety countdown, we proved one thing: AA works. AA works, because this room is full of people who are dealing one day at a time with staying sober. And for us, I know the room I'm talking to because I've been here a couple of days. I know the room I'm talking to. For us to be sober is amazing. Absolutely amazing. So whatever time you have, celebrate that time, because nothing's guaranteed. Every one of these chairs could be multiplied by 100, and we wouldn't even come close to the people who have been here and gone. So consider yourself lucky, but also responsible. Responsible. Because when the people come in next week or next month or next year, they got to see you. And you got to see them. And you got to tell them what you've seen, so that they'll be curious enough to stay to see it themselves. That's what's been working for me. But I didn't get here like that. I did not get to Alcoholics Anonymous as a result of an affirmative action program. I can tell you that right now. Nothing I did was affirmative to get me here. I screwed up. I did not see the light. I felt the heat. How many people got to Alcoholics Anonymous in trouble? If you're new in Alcoholics Anonymous, look around. There's a bunch of us that got in here because we didn't want to be here. Somebody had sent us here. And in the States, I don't know if they do it here in Bermuda or in Great Britain, but when they send you someplace, they give you this little 3x5 card, and they send you to the meeting. And it's the responsibility for you to get a person to sign that you've been to that meeting. You know, so there's a lot of people that resist the idea of sponsorship or surrendering to this program. But if you had a 3x5 card, you're already sponsored. Because the people that gave you that 3x5 card, they'd rather trust us, crackpots, fallen women, and ne'er-do-wells, to verify you have been to a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous, because they no longer trust you at your word. They'd rather have a bunch of failures and screw-ups verify you've been there. So what does that say about you? So that's how I got to Alcoholics Anonymous. What had happened prior to that was that I had pitiful and incomprehensible demoralization. Now you may ask yourself, what does that mean? That means my butt was in a crack. I had failed, and it was the 2nd of June, 1981, and I was in northern Japan. I was finishing a 7-7, and if they had told me that I was going to be in the middle of another island in the Atlantic, telling you about it, I'd have probably finished that 7 and 7, and you'd have another speaker here tonight. It was just enough, because I had failed in every aspect of my life. I had failed as a man, failed as a father, failed as a brother, failed as a friend, failed as an employee. I had failed in every aspect of my life, and I was 24 years old. And that was where that statement that I think every alcoholic that wants to stay sober, for whether it's for 15 minutes or 15 years, they say it at some point in time when they're drinking, God, please help me, and everything changed. So if you're waiting for an intellectual idea or treatise on how alcoholism affects a relatively smart African-American male from the East Coast, that's not what's happening. God put me in the palm of his hand, and he has never let me go. And I am here as a direct result of him intervening on my best ideas. Because my best thinking got me to Alcoholics Anonymous. The best stuff I brought to the table every day ended me up in Alcoholics Anonymous. So why am I so hard-pressed to surrender? It is obvious I don't know what the hell I'm doing. But the thing is, it was progressive. I could prove that I was making sense to me. Nobody else, but to me. I grew up, my full name is Stirling David Holmes III. Isn't that something? Now, when you got a Roman numeral at the end of your name, you're supposed to get a country to run. Louis XIV, Charles V, you know? I'm waiting for my country. 7 years in the South Bronx, I got a little sister that moves into my room. Piss me off. Talk about resentments. I'm the kind of guy, there's two groups in my world. Me, all y'all. And it's been that way since kindergarten. I mean, when I saw kindergarten, I was like, you know? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? It'd have been nice to have had a sponsor in kindergarten. You know what I mean? What do I do? What do I do? Eat the cookie, take the nap. That's all you got to do when you're in kindergarten. I had no instructions. You know, I grew up in Catholic school education. Don't have a problem with the Catholic doctrine. I really don't. Some of the nuns that taught it to me weren't wrapped too tight, but other than that, it really don't. What the deal was, my head was telling me stuff that wasn't functional or practical or even real in the world that I was living within. And that put me at odds. I think many drunks are always at odds with the world that they're in. Whether that world be legal, illegal, immoral, violent, wonderful, it doesn't matter. Because I grew up in the 50s and 60s. And on American television at that time, you had a lot of, nuclear families, split level, A-framed houses, perfectly manicured lawns. Dad was an engineer. Mom looked like Donna Reed or Ozzie and Harriet, And the deal is, they ate promptly at 6 because he came home from his engineering job at 6 o'clock. And when they had a problem with Junior, they solved it in a half an hour. Now, you can look at me and tell, Mom, we ain't Leave It to Beaver here, right? I grew up in the projects in the South Bronx, and a 5-story walk-up in Harlem, so there wasn't no lawn to mow. We didn't have a paper boy that tossed it perfectly in front of the door. You know what I mean? And if they had a problem with this Junior, you know good and damn well they did not solve it in a half an hour. I always thought that if I had had that Leave It to Beaver kind of lifestyle, that 8 is enough family, all of that kind of stuff, I wouldn't be as weird as I am today. But I have been to thousands of meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous. I've sat right next to Beaver Cleaver. He's just as screwed up as I am. So it don't matter where I grew up. Even though it was Harlem and the South Bronx, even though it was Fort Apache, the one they make all the movies about, that didn't matter. What mattered was how I reacted to my environment. And it would have made no difference of being from there or from the West Coast where I later went to or living here, 3 blocks from here. I was selfish and self-centered from the gate. It was always, what about me? That was the song I heard when I got up and the last song I heard before I went to sleep. And there are some days when that comes back with a bullet. That song comes back, what about me? Don't you understand? Because I don't know. I know you don't. I know you love me, but do you love me? See, because I need you to love me, and if you don't love me, tell me who does love me so I can be with them. I not only wanted what I had, I wanted what you had. And if you wasn't going to give it up, I'd take it from you. Because that was the way I was. I needed to be okay. And a person like that on condition yellow can get into a lot of trouble. And I had friends of mine who were doing all in my neighborhood, we used to call alcohol liquid courage. I did many courageous things under the influence of alcohol. And never once asked them if they had the same kind of fears. Because I had a lot of fears. I was on condition yellow all the time. I was worried about you finding out. Now, what you were supposed to find out, I had no idea. But I was worried about you finding it out. So 13, by the time I got 13 years old, I needed something. Or else, because the maelstrom that was going on inside of my head was driving me nuts. I'm always on alert. And I went into the grocery store and got a tall can of Coke 45, and everything changed. My whole perception of life changed with that tall can of Coke 45. I figured I could speak as well as Jesse Jackson, play sports as well as Reggie Jackson, dance as well as Michael Jackson. I'm serious. It changed my perception of how I saw the world and how I thought the world saw me. And if it was still, a newcomer, this is important. If it was still working, I'd be out today being one of the Jacksons. You just saw me moonwalking down Front Street. But it stopped working. And here's where the tragedy comes. It stopped working. It stopped fixing. It stopped helping. And I couldn't stop doing. Because by that time, it had become an obsession. And I could not stop. Now, I didn't know that. I didn't know that I had an obsession. I didn't even know I had an allergy to the body. I wasn't going to read that book for many years later. But it was interesting. I developed that craving because that tall can of Coke 45 worked, Jack. I could talk to the girls. I could be cool. I could do all the things I need to do. My mother was a narcotics officer. Yeah, made me real popular in the neighborhood, let me tell you. She was one of those that worked in a facility. She was not on the street busting junkies, but the thing was, she worked in a facility. I knew all there was to know about drugs. You know, I was a real buzzkill for some of my friends, you know? So I'm drinking my rum and Coke, and I'm thinking I'm better than. You know, and when you drink like I was drinking, things start happening. Like there was this young lady that I was starting to date, and her ex-boyfriend was at the party. So I challenged her. You know, you challenge the guy that you're trying to get over on with something you can do the best. So I challenged him to a drinking contest. We were drinking hot, cheap gin in the South Bronx out of little Dixie cups because we didn't have shot glasses. And you know what hot, cheap gin does to Dixie cups? It melts Dixie cups. But I won. And I passed out. And, you know, so we slept overnight all as like a little group kind of thing. And we were young, you know, teenagers. But the deal was that morning I woke up and I was mortified. I mean, I was embarrassed. You know, I blamed it all on bad onion dip. Because it couldn't have been the gin I was drinking or the 4 or 5 beers I'd had to get ready. Because, you know, only alcoholics drink to get ready to go drinking. If you drink, have a couple of drinks to get ready to go out with your friends and drink, you need to come here next year and in between go to some meetings. Because only drinkers drink to get ready to go drink. So I was denying alcohol. I was denying what it was doing to me. I'm still in my teens. It's starting to affect me, but I'm thinking it's a solution. Most of us feel like we have to keep alcohol as an option because we're afraid of what will happen if we don't. And I was at that place where I knew something was wrong. Even at 14, 15 years old, I knew something was wrong, but it could not be this because this was way more important than anything else. I didn't know it was that important that I was willing to give it my life, my sanity, or my freedom. But that's where I was at 15 or 16 years old. The rest is just funny stories and tragic situations. I was an alcoholic, obsessed with alcohol from the gate. And there are very few people on the planet that have that problem. Not even many of them can be counted in Alcoholics Anonymous. There's a full world out there full of people that sit there going, why did I do that again? How many times you ask yourself that? More than once. Why did I do that again? And this is the first place in my entire life I ever got an answer to that question that made sense. Alcoholics Anonymous knows why you did it again. Because you have an allergy of the body, and your mind is obsessed with the one thing that wants to take your life, take your freedom, take all of your time. Because the first thing that goes when you take that first drink when you're like us is your spirit. It takes a little while longer for your body to start suffering from it. And takes even longer for your mind to suffer from it. But that is exactly the way it went. And it's the opposite in recovery. The mind clears, body gets better, and we got to work on that spirit. That's what differentiates us from all the other people that are out there drinking champagne and buying liquor tonight and having a Bahama. Oh, I was about to say a Bahama moment. I would have been wrong. I would have been wrong. Well, I don't know what it is. Bermuda, what is it? Dark and stool? Dark, okay, I don't know. Dark and stormy. Y'all got a drink called Dark and Stormy. That beats the hell out of Mad Dog. Okay. You know, so that's the deal. There are people today sucking those down thinking they don't have a problem. But by the time I got to 19, I knew that there was a real problem. But I decided that I was going to join. I had always wanted to join a gang. Because in my neighborhood, they had gangs. But the gangs kind of supported one another. They were supportive of each and every member. So I wanted to join a gang. But you know, the thing was that my friends who were in gangs wouldn't let me join the gang, and I thought because I was so smart, I was going to a good school, and Mom was paying a lot of money for me to get a good education. I found out it was because of my fight record. I wasn't very good. I'd have been a liability to the gang rather than being an asset. And that was after doing some real inventory work, discovering, oh yeah, man, you had a bad record, you know? So that's the deal. I decided to join a big gang. Department of Defense. Because when we go to a gang fight, we bring nuclear weapons. Somebody gonna get hurt. So I joined my right hand joined the United States Air Force. They didn't know I was an alcoholic. My mom didn't. My mom's a drug and alcohol count. She didn't know I was an alcoholic. I didn't look like the alcoholics look. We proceeded to my neighborhood. The alcoholics in my neighborhood had like a long overcoat, the plastic bag, the plastic bottle inside the brown bag, and they have a puddle in front of them because they weren't very quick. So, you know, they didn't pause to talk to go to the restroom. They just kept talking. That's why they had puddle in front of them. But, you know, one guy had one little green monkeys. Remember them little green monkeys get at the pet store? Yeah, he had a green monkey. So I knew I wasn't alcoholic because I ain't had no monkey. So the United States Air Force swore me in, and I fully intended on being a good GI. I fully intended on being, you know, when I later met this girl, I fully intended on being a good husband. When we had the kid, I fully intended on being a good dad. I wanted to be a good GI, a good man. I come from people that taught me what being a good man is supposed to be like. So I knew that's what I wanted. But I was an alcoholic. And when you're an alcoholic, you cannot be anything but an alcoholic. It is a rapacious creditor. It takes everything, your dreams, your ideas, your goals, your mind, your freedom, your life. That's rapaciousness. And I was embarked on alcoholism even though I was trying to add to it a career in the United States Air Force. Now, I know if you're going to do alcoholism right, you need some things that start you off and get you a good foundation. And one of them is an income. Don't have to be your income. But an income is necessary. Place to crash, again, doesn't have to be your place to crash. And 3 meals a day is important in the beginning. At the end, no big deal. So my alcoholism was exponentially increased by the fact that now I was away from mommy and daddy and in the United States Air Force. The problem is the institution kind of looks ill, you know, doesn't look very kindly on some of the behavior of us when we've had too much to drink. Yeah, but I knew how to fix that. I always know how to fix inside stuff with outside stuff. See, the better I look, the less you're going to notice. That's the way I think. So as long as I'm flashy and as long as I used to buy the high-end uniforms, I'd be looking good, and I'd talk a good game, you know, and I mean, I was doing all of that. So I didn't get in as much trouble as I could have. And I got married. I found a girl. I don't know if alcoholics date. I don't think alcoholics date. Alcoholics hunt down and capture. I do think that. I truly do believe. But I also think lately I've been realizing that a good hunter always goes for the one that's the slowest. And I think the ones that run so slow aren't always running at their full speed. I think they're doing some hunting too. So I'm not sure what the dynamic is anymore, but I know that I promised this girl the world, and I married her, and I really wanted to be, like I said, all those things, a good dad. But it just can't do it when you got alcoholism. You know, and what happens is I got sent overseas to Japan. So I lived on another island besides Manhattan. So that's 3 islands now I've been on. Yeah. Hey, anyway, you know, I mean, and when we got stationed out there, they drive on the wrong side of the road. You know, steering wheels on the other side, and they driving on the wrong side. So I would get drunk and couldn't remember what side of the road I was supposed to be on. So I drive down the middle. That behavior warrants interest. People start getting interested when you start doing stuff in public that just don't make any damn sense. Especially when they pull you over and ask you that all-important question, why did you do that? And you just basically say, and that's not a good answer. So they send you to places, and they give you clothes. The places they send you to, they put you in a room where the doorknob ain't on your side. And they give you clothes with long sleeves and extra belts. I sponsor a guy that was in 4-point restraints after totaling his truck. And he was looking down his nose at the guy next to him was in a 5-point restraints. He said, I didn't think I had a problem. He was in 4 points, the other guy was in 5 points. Now, he's messed up. But that's us. We're delusional. By the time we get here, we done told so. You know, the best way to lie is to believe it yourself. I would start telling lies about getting some money out of somebody or getting other things out of somebody, and the lie would be so bad, I'd start crying. That's what makes you delusional. That's why you cannot differentiate the real from the unreal when you get here. Because the disease and your own participation in the stuff that you're doing that is contrary to your nature starts to take its toll on you. And that's exactly what it was doing to me. And society knows exactly what to do when you start acting bizarre. They come up with ways to keep you from acting bizarre. And they put me in treatment. My commander called me in and said, you know, you're a good worker, but I don't know how many times I've heard that from an alcoholic's mouth. A teacher or a clergyman or a wife or somebody says, you're okay, but. And there's a reason why they always say that but. It's because we are butts. You know, most of the time we behave like butts. And he was saying to me, I give you 2 weeks to volunteer for inpatient treatment. I'm going to send you under my order, and if you don't make it out successfully, Stirling, you are out of the Air Force. So you know how long it took me to decide, right? You got it. 2 weeks. Here we got a disease that will take our mind, take our lives, or take our freedom. We have a disease that nobody understands. The disease that, from what I understand about Alcoholics Anonymous, only a spiritual solution will alleviate. And that's offered to us an opportunity to get out from under whatever the lash of alcoholism has done to us. And they give us a choice between staying in this and maybe dying in your own urine or coffee maker on the committee. Pick one. Okay, insanity or death, happiness, joyousness, and freedom. Can I get back to you? Is the insanity and death going to hurt? You know, I mean, that's the kind of questions we ask. Because to accept spiritual help is not easy alternative to face, according to the book. I think it's page 24, I think. The deal is, that's where I was at. So I went down there, volunteered day before the 2 weeks was up, and went down to get alcohol education. That's what the military was euphemistically calling treatment. Alcohol education. They taught me everything I need to know about alcoholism in 40-something days. The Jellinek chart of disease and recovery, the I'll quit tomorrow, the pictures of cirrhotic livers, days of wine and roses. I felt so sorry for you people. Oh my God. When I got back to the base, I was going to make a donation. Because because y'all had problems. So, there was a vote the 2 days before we graduated. Who was most likely to drink 6 months after getting out of there? And there was 12 of us. 12 angry men, I call it. And the vote would have been unanimous if I had told the truth. It was 11-1 in my favor. We didn't even need Florida. You know? Everybody knew I was going to be drinking again, including me, but I just lied. I had a guarded prognosis coming out of treatment. Now, I don't know. They said, Stirling, we think you need a support system. Okay, and so they thought that I needed a support system because they were under the impression, because it was a treatment center, they were under the impression that I needed some help with the life that I had. But what they didn't understand is I suffer from alcoholism. There is no life. There's only alcohol when you suffer from alcoholism. There is no life. So the thing was, I found Alcoholics Anonymous, which is a way of life. And so if I find a way of life that keeps me away from alcohol, the support system is not necessary. But they thought that AA was my support system. So they required of me that I attend 6 meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous. That's what I had to do to comply with the recovery requirements of this treatment center. When I got back to the base, I needed to go to 6 meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous. I went to the first meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. It was right near the recreation center. They met 3 times a week. So I figured I could just go all 3 times for 2 weeks and I'd be done with these people. Now, I was wondering what Alcoholics Anonymous was doing on a military installation because, like I told you, there was bums and ne'er-do-wells that were alcoholics. And I didn't see no guy with no green monkey sitting up next to no building nowhere. So, you know, what the heck is this going to be like? So I walk in the door, and what I don't know what your first experience was, but mine was people smiling from ear to ear. Well, I looked around, I saw a picture of these 2 old white guys. Some stuff written on some lampshades. This coffee pot thing, and a guy on a bed with 2 guys talking to him would look like the Bible. And the orange ashtrays. Don't remember the orange ashtrays? Man, we never used to. A carton of cigarettes. You could put a carton of cigarettes in that orange ashtray, pile it up to about here. Never emptied it until it was absolutely necessary. That's AA to me. Yellow 12 and 12. That pile ash is in the ashtray, and a guy named Jim. It's always a guy named Jim. You know? But those people were smiling from ear to ear. You know, they were happy to see me, and I was not happy to see them. Hi, how you doing? Welcome to Alcoholics Anonymous. You want a cup of coffee? We're about to start the meeting. They were happy. What the hell is wrong with these people? So I was not happy. So he put me down in the newcomer couch because the springs were missing in the newcomer couch. So you sit down. So they started with a prayer, ended with a prayer, passed the basket. I knew exactly what this was then. You see, I'd grown up Catholic school. I had played around with a lot of different religions. I had practiced judo for a while, Islam for a little bit, and I had an imam that was teaching me, and I practiced judo, an ancient African religion, judo, at one point in time. There was always a girl, and she was in a Baptist choir, so I joined the Baptist choir because I wanted what she had, and I was willing to go to any lengths to get it. They got loaned out to a Methodist church. So on any given Sunday, I was a failed Catholic who was a practicing Muslim singing in a Baptist choir in a Methodist church. I had all the stuff about God. I had a Book of Mormon. I had an English translation of the Quran. I was one of those kind of people with a 36-ounce bottle of Colt 45 in my underwear would have an argument with a Jehovah's Witness and win the argument. I knew all about God. I knew all about God. So I was waiting. Because I knew these people, they were hell-bent on jumping me to Jesus. I knew that. Or make me shave my head or sell books at the airport, wearing orange with a little tambourine. Ding, 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 ding. I was waiting for you to put the hard sell on. I was waiting. It was just inevitable that you had some missionary work in Africa you got to do, or a building fund. You got something going on that you wanted to hit me up for it. I knew that. But they never did. What they did was they talked about themselves. They shared the most embarrassing, stupid, ugly, dangerous events in their drinking career, and they would laugh I woke up naked on my lawn. I was embarrassed for them, you know? I'm not telling nobody nothing. I got family still don't know to this day I'm an alcoholic. The deal, I couldn't believe it. But she was so matter of fact about it, it was attractive. And I started liking coming. There was a guy named George. George was a big old Navy guy, beard, the whole 9 yards, 6'2", 200-something pound, big guy. He liked hugging folks. Now, I'm a man, South Bronx. You another man. You ain't hugging me. He would chase me around a little room to hug me. One day he caught me. 6 months in, I think I'm gay because I'm liking these hugs. Now, if you knew in Alcoholics Anonymous, newcomer, let me tell you something. If you got crazy thoughts in your head, we know you have crazy thoughts. Don't try to hide it. I've had some today. Going up and down the elevator, I'll have some crazy thoughts. But the deal is, the idea is to grab an old timer. They ain't got nothing else to do. Grab an old timer, tell them the crazy thought. I could have called on Bob or Jim and said, Jim, I think I'm gay. You go, oh, really? Okay. You like girls, Sterling? Well, yeah, I like girls. You're married? Yeah, to a woman? Yeah. Well, then you're probably not gay. Oh, okay. Because you got more crazy thinking to do. Why get stuck on just this? You know? I mean, really. So the deal is, I kept coming, and I gradually fell in love with Alcoholics Anonymous. Not because of what you quoted, the big book quotes, not because of the way you did the Serenity Prayer, because we like putting circles in square rooms, which is really difficult to do. Even for mathematicians, it's hard to do, and alcoholics, we never get it right. But we keep trying, though. You know? But the deal is, gradually, what appealed to me, well, I hear the term, what you did spoke so loud, I could not hear what you said. Now, to me, that's Alcoholics Anonymous. What we do speaks way louder than what we and how we read and what we talk about in workshops and all of that other stuff. I mean, it's great stuff. But the bottom line is, like was mentioned earlier today, eye to eye, knee to knee. That's what saved me. That's what saved most of y'all. And that's what's going to save anybody that walks in the doors of Alcoholics Anonymous ad infinitum. The bottom line is our responsibility of those who have been pulled out of the water after the Titanic sank, for Christ's sake, have an obligation to go looking for some more folks. And when you hear help, you got to go to it and grab them and dry them off and try to help them get safe. That's what our charter is, because God has a sense of humor. He done taken the most self-centered, selfish, egotistical people on the planet and put them in service work. Isn't that funny? That's what the people did to me at that first meeting. They said, well, Sterling, we need a coffee maker for 2 weeks. I make terrible coffee. To this day, I make terrible coffee. 16 people used to come to my home group, big old thing of Maxwell House and the big, tureen of 16 caps in there. Yeah, there's some ex-coffee makers in the room, I can tell you. They were drinking espresso. This is 81. I'm ahead of Howard. We ain't even got Starbucks in America yet. I'm making espresso in Misawa Air Base, Japan. We used a lot of cream in them 2 weeks, man. People's eyes closed. It was funny. To this day, I still make bad coffee. But never give up a service job. The reason why I say never give up a service job, because you get an opportunity. We know you don't know what you're doing. We just like watching you try. And when you get good at it, we fire you and give you another job you don't know nothing about. Because we hire the handicapped in Alcoholics Anonymous. We love it. Because we have a loving God that trusts us to do the right thing. He's given us the power to help others. We have recovered and been given the power, a bunch of powerless, self-centered people, the ability to help other people. That's why the magic happens in Alcoholics Anonymous, and you get 1-year anniversaries and 41-year anniversaries and the people in between. And you get people that you look at and you know good and damn well they're never going to be able to stay sober, and they're taking a 2-year, 3-year, 4-year cake because God has a sense of humor and he loves making us look foolish. Because we don't know what we're doing. And he gets great joy in showing us his power and his grace. And that's what happened to me in that first year of Alcoholics Anonymous. Those people had stuff for me I don't think they had for themselves, but they were able to inspire me to come back to the States and get involved in Alcoholics Anonymous. Just one problem. I wanted more African Americans in Alcoholics Anonymous. Just didn't seem like there was enough black people. So I was going to take it on my life to get thousands of black folks into Alcoholics Anonymous. Because I wanted another picture up on that wall. Bill, Bob, Sterling, right in the middle. I rewrite the book later. I came to D.C., southeast side of D.C. There was a meeting on a Friday night. Looked like thousands of black folks in Alcoholics Anonymous. Many of them sober longer than me. Kind of pissed me off. But I got involved in going to meetings and places and doing service work in places. And I would like to tell you that my sobriety was stellar. It wasn't. It was quite the opposite. What happened was, 5 years in, I didn't have a sponsor. I started hating you, hating the program, hating me, hating it, hating the job, hating her, all that. You know, so I decided I was going to kill myself. But I thought for a minute, maybe I should get a sponsor first. Equally tragic decisions as far as I'm concerned. But I could always kill myself later, so I went for get a sponsor now. My God with a sense of humor sent me to Omaha, Nebraska. Now, it doesn't sound like AA Mecca to you, but it was AA Mecca to me, because I met a man who, the minute I met him, pissed me off. He was in a room full of people. It was just like that first group I had, except there was now 100 of them. Hi, how you doing? Welcome back. They were all excited and motivated to be sober. They're sober, you know. I'm sober, you know. He comes up to me and says, you don't want to hide Alcoholics Anonymous, I will see you at these meetings. I took his inventory that day. I took his inventory the next day. I took his inventory the third day. Now, if you done took somebody's inventory in your head for 3 straight days and they're the same sex as you, get them for a sponsor. Because at least if they're going to spend that much time in your head, at least they can do some housekeeping while they're up there. Clean out them cobwebs and stuff. So he gave me the marching orders. The marching orders made sense. We were both GIs at the time, both active duty. So I went with it. And the thing was is that surrender marked the change in the manner of my recovery. I was still sober day in and day out. But the manner of my recovery started to take on a new type of purpose. I was given something that some of us don't always get. And that's a shame. But I was given enthusiasm. And enthusiasm is a Greek word that means God within. And so what I got by having a sponsor that was going to hold me accountable, what I got as a result of that is accountability. And accountability yielded me a certain sense of, well-being. And that well-being motivated me to search a little bit more into what Alcoholics Anonymous is and is not. And it also empowered me to be able to share that information with another person that might ask the question, because I'd always kind of been afraid of that. You know, somebody coming up to me and going, hey, what's the third step all about? I went through them real quick in treatment, and I did a fifth with a priest, so I knew he couldn't talk, you know. But I had no real understanding of the spiritual significance of the third step. I really didn't. And these people did, because they reflected a good third step in their behavior. Every one of those religions I half measured in, I met people that did a really good third step. They made a decision to turn their will and their lives over to the care of whatever they were believing in, and they acted in accordance with that decision. I was one of those alcoholics that might have made the decision, but I didn't back it up with anything active. I wasn't taking actions. And the deal was, I got taught by a sponsor in a fellowship that was real motivated on accountability and actions. I learned how to be a man. I learned how to be a friend. I learned how to be a brother. I learned how to be a dad at the hands of other men that had failed miserably at the same stuff, but now knew a better way. And were willing to show me, so long as I was willing to listen. And there were many late nights in Denny's when they were showing me how to put the seat up, how to keep my mouth shut, how to be a man in my house by doing that. That's what they made the traditions come to life for me. It wasn't just something we did at the business meeting. It was something that I had to learn how to be, like self-supporting. That means you got to pay them people. You got to give them their money, because it ain't your money no more, it's their money. And the deal was, I had to learn how to be a man. I had to learn how to keep my mouth shut, how to show up, how to suit up. And gradually, my life got better. I was, at 10 years sober, I was getting the AA brass ring. I was ready, Jack. You know? I'm wonderful. And I asked her that all-important question, do you want to remain married to me? And she said, no. Surprise, surprise. So now I'm horrified, I'm mortified, I'm tore up, I'm destroyed, I'm disappointed, and I'm going to meetings and people are going, what's wrong, Sterling? Nothing, I'm fine. That's how we do things. You come around, what's the matter? Nothing. You know? My sponsor just came up to me and said, oh yeah, it's real lucky to have the only man ever to get a divorce in Alcoholics Anonymous. He made me not take myself so seriously. And I had to do an inventory on that relationship and vow not to do that again. And God, with his sense of humor, brought a lady. I'm from New York originally. She's from New Jersey originally. We meet in Omaha. That's the way he does it. And we decided to keep a long-distance relationship going, and we got married. And we're still married today because she has a sponsor and I have a sponsor. I don't sponsor her, and she don't sponsor me. That's the way we stay together. Because all we do is we share with each other our experience, strength, and hope, like we do anyway. She's in Al-Anon, I'm in AA. And we started to build that life together. She had 2 kids. They started cranking out grandchildren. You know, and the thing is that I got like 12 grandkids, 2 great-grandsons, 1 grandchild on the way. I'm in a family full of her in-laws, her ex-in-laws, her ex-husband's in-laws is my family in Omaha, Nebraska. When they need something, they call me. Now, God's got a sense of humor. I don't have anything in common with these people. I'm not even from the same state. We don't, you know. But they go, Stirling. Because they know I'll keep my promise. Because you know I better keep my promise. And that's where it's coming from. I have an effect. The old timer used to say, your disease has effect on at least 7 people. That's how much your recovery needs to be affected on a regular basis. So I got to put it out there. I got to do so much that what I say they don't hear it. They just have to see it. I'm an example. It doesn't make me special. It just makes me a part of. In order for me to stay sane here, I got to work out there. So that I'm prepared to give the facts of what my life has been these last 30-something years for the benefit of the person that's walking in the door. You were talking about the 30s. You're at that place where it started getting really dark for me. I was out of work at 32. Things were bad. Things were really bad. Now, I have always believed in a power greater than myself. Even when I was doing that stuff I was doing, I believed there was a God. I just didn't trust him. And at 32, at one time, I didn't have any heat in my car. Now, I know y'all don't understand this, but in Nebraska, it gets kind of chilly. Last week it was 5. I get there, it's supposed to be 8. I'm going in shorts. Deal is, I didn't have no heat in this car. And I'm driving this car around. You know, I'm doing what the thing. I have no heat in my car. You know. I get a call from my sponsor. Sponsor says, you have to take this car to a guy, a maintenance guy that I knew was in the program. You're supposed to leave it there. Your brother Pigeon will come by, pick you up, take you to lunch. And you're going to go to a meeting. And they're going to put a heating element in this car. It's none of your business who. It's none of your business how much. You just say thank you. Okay, you know. So that's what happened. My brother Pigeon came, we had lunch, we went to a meeting. I come back, I got a heating element in my car. Now, when you're 6 months sober, and somebody in AA does that anonymously for you, you will tell every meeting you go to. You know that? Hey, man, AA fixed my car, man. My car was broke, and AA came and they fixed it, man. You be telling everybody that. When you like 6 weeks sober, but when you 30-something years sober, you don't want nobody to know that. Because I got 2 books on my nightstand. The big book, which has got a lot of dust on it, and this other book that's invisible to everybody but me. Where You Ought to Be By Now. That's the title. That's the book I pick up and read before I go to sleep. So, see, I thought I was supposed to have some sort of status because I've been sober over 30 years. I'm an alcoholic. My life's unmanageable as a direct result of my alcoholism. Not and, because. That's the proper word that needs to go in that dash. Because I am completely powerless over my own life. And when it started happening, I had to enlarge my spiritual life to meet the calamities with serenity that I was starting to get in my early 30s of sobriety. It ain't over. It better not be. Because when it's over, I'm over. I got to keep struggling. Because that's somewhere my higher power wants me to be. You know, there was now, and that was 7 years ago. You would think that I had learned. Recently, I decided to go to a store called Big Lots. It's like an outlet store in the United States. And I thought I was getting a deal on this Raisin Bran. Because they had 2 boxes, and it was only like, $4, $5, you know? This is a deal. I like Raisin Bran, you know? So I got these 2 boxes of Raisin Bran, and I was deciding one Saturday morning, I ain't got nothing to do, I'm not working, and everything. I got my bowl out, and I'm going to give me some Raisin Bran. I took that box. There was like 3 raisins in that box. Now, one of the basic advertisements of Raisin Bran, post-Raisin Bran, is there's 2 scoops. There's 3 raisins in this whole big old box of Raisin Bran. I am pissed off. I am on a tirade in the kitchen. My wife has buried her face in the couch pillow because she does not want me to see her. That she's laughing so hard. She's crying, she's laughing so hard. I am ready to call the president of Post serious. Because I think I'd have been cheated out of 2 scoops of raisins. It got even too silly for me, and I opted to just, okay, fine, screw it. I just won't have any cereal today. I went to a meeting that started in about 10 minutes, a 10-10 meeting, and one of the guys that I used to sponsor was celebrating his 20th anniversary with his current sponsor. So I was able to be there and participate and celebrate in his sobriety and try to draw myself out of this thing. And after the meeting, I went to the grocery store and I bought 6 things, those little boxes of Sun-Made raisins. I went back home and I put a box of raisins in my Raisin Bran. Now, you might think that's silly, but I'm sober 30-something years, a spiritual icon in the program of Alcoholics Anonymous in Omaha, Nebraska, and I'm pissed off about raisins because that's the nature of my disease. It never does anything to me when the big stuff is going on. It always does stuff to me. It's like that scene in A Beautiful Mind. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie, but it was about a gentleman who saw people that weren't there. And even though he was a brilliant mathematician and a wonderful scientist, he had this affliction where people were influencing his life that didn't exist in the real world. And he received a Nobel Prize. It's actually a true story. And someone asked him after the ceremony, he was in the lobby, and he said, "Do you still see those persons?" They were in the doorway. And he looked over and he could see them there. Nobody else can, because they don't exist. But he looked at them and they looked at him and he says, "Yeah, but they don't bother me that much anymore." Because they were in the doorway waiting. That's where my alcoholism is. That's where all the insanity that made me think I could drink to get better, drink to get sober, all of that stuff, it's standing in the doorway. It's just waiting for me to give it a chance. And when I get too hungry, angry, lonely, or tired, it wants in. It's like, Sterling, we're here, we're ready. So I have to put my hand in the hand of a newcomer and another hand on the big book, so I don't have a hand to pick up with. Because I can't use my feet yet. And that's the deal today. I live in a constant battle with my own self-centered brain. It says in the 5th chapter, no human power can relieve my alcoholism. So why am I going to invest in my wife and my kids and you guys to try to keep me sober? No human power can relieve our alcohol. That's a bold statement. What are they saying? They're basically saying it's up to God. And I need to stay as current with my higher power as I possibly can. Because I'm likely to get another box of empty Raisin Bran and embrace Jack Daniels. You know, when I quit drinking, they only had one flavor of Mad Dog, MD 2020. Now they got cranberry flavored Mad Dog now. And I could just see myself in the holiday season with my, that little champagne cup that doesn't have a bottom on it, because I done lost that. So, pouring my little cranberry flavored Mad Dog in the holiday season, bringing in the new year right with my paper bag luggage. Or maybe Glad bag. I get matching Glad bags. That would be good. That's what I got to look forward to if I drink again. If I'm punished, if I'm lucky, I'll just die. Just die and go crazy. But I think I'm one of those kind of drunks you get to see. Because I'm one of those kind of drunks that likes to be seen. See, I love to be in the middle of Alcoholics Anonymous. The reason why I like being in the middle of Alcoholics Anonymous, I get seen. And that's where all the jobs come from. They go, oh, Sterling, hey, could you come over here? That's what happens. But I'm in the middle of Alcoholics Anonymous making noise because it's safe in the middle of the boat, especially when the water's rough. And the deal is, that's the way it was with me. I've been going on and on. I'm going to quit here in a minute, but the bottom line, I know that there's a lot of people that are relatively new, and I know the question comes up in your head whether or not you'd be one of us. Because you see some of us walking around and look like we never had a problem in our life. Well, here's the deal. I've been going on and on and on and on and on so far. If any of you have done this, when I've been talking, only alcoholics do this when alcoholics are talking. Al-Anons do this. For the same reason your speakers prior today talked about. They remember. We may see it a certain way, but they remember it. So, the deal was, but that's the way it is. If resistance is futile. If you're in this room, more likely you got a problem that needs to be solved by a power greater than you. And I would not advise you leaving before you have an intimate relationship with that power. And if it comes to you in meditation or in thought that perhaps this isn't your deal, you can take the God and leave, and we will cheerfully refund your misery. Because we don't want it. But if you want to stay, you have the greatest show on earth to watch. I don't know if y'all remember or seen it lately, but isn't it something special when somebody gets it? Yes. I mean, isn't that something wonderful? I mean, you got a person that has been living their lives under the veil of some stupid ideas, and they finally at some point in time set them aside in favor of the God idea. And you get to witness that, which is in the middle of a meeting, it might be the boringest meeting you've ever been in, but all of a sudden the guy sitting on the corner or somebody that had their arms folded the whole year, arguing with everything you told them and finally, ding. Hey, if I don't drink, I don't get drunk. Now that sounds like some trite stuff, doesn't it? But if I don't drink, I don't get drunk. And that is the most profound thing they've had to deal with that day. And you get to see that. And what's more, you probably got to put up 2 weeks of going to him with meetings and he's telling everybody, I don't drink, I don't get drunk. You get tired of it. But the bottom line, that is really something special. And to be able to participate in that is something short of magic. Because the rest of the world does not operate this way. Only us. We're all we got. Ain't nobody coming to our rescue. We're responsible. That's why we have to become armed with the facts about ourselves. And that's your responsibility, especially the ones that have been here a couple days. We can never give up, because if we give up, the message that God has for us, that might be right in the soul of that person we just walked out on, we'll never hear it. And it's our responsibility to be here to hear the message, to hear the music of Alcoholics Anonymous. You got to be here. You got to pay to play. You got to kick in. It's not passive anymore. And we're on a battle with the disease that wants to take our mind, take our life, take our freedom. But the upside is, sobriety is a lot like sex. It's more fun when it's with other people. It is. Trust me. It is. You have a fellowship surrounding you. You have people that are there for you. If you're new in Alcoholics Anonymous, wear them out. Don't let them sit around looking comfortable and wonderful. Don't like them, talk to them. You might find out he's a lot like you. That's what you see. You know, the bottom line is this is a great place to try stuff out. I am a grandparent today. There is a story, my daughter, whom I dropped several times because my bottle was more important than her bottle. When I got divorced, she went back to the East Coast, to Washington, D.C. And I was terrible. I was a terrible dad, and I really felt very bad about it. But my sponsor said, treat her like a newcomer. I said, well, what do you mean? He says, you have nothing to lose when you show her a newcomer, but you want to give them the best example of what Alcoholics Anonymous is, so you'd stay, right? I said, yeah. He said, well, treat her like a newcomer. So whenever she would call, I would give her everything I had. I mean, all my experience, all my love, all my support, all my encouragement, everything I had. I'd just be on that phone. I'd hang up that phone, and sometimes I'd cry like a baby because we were so far away and we were so separated. But when she graduated from grammar school to middle school, I was there. When she graduated from middle school to junior high school, I was there. When she graduated from high school to college, I was there. When she graduated college, I was there. And when she married that idiot, I was there. When she graduated from high school, she got honors in D.C. Eleanor Holmes Norton, who's a representative from Washington, D.C. to the Congress, gave her National Merit Scholarship banner, and she got a chance to, as the valedictorian, to talk to the audience for a few minutes. And she, in front of all those white people, thanked me for my encouragement and my understanding. Now, y'all know me. I'm an alcoholic, fully self-centered, outright mental defective, full flight from reality, according to the doctor's opinion. And she thanked me in front of all of them people for my kindness and my encouragement because I did the business meetings, because I showed up when I was supposed to show up, and I was willing to sponsor men who were just as rabid butt crazy as I was. And I was willing to give this thing 3 to 4 times a week, no matter what. Even after I died, I'd be late. That was why she told all those people that I was kind and encouraging. First part of this year, we lost the patriarch in my family. It's a guy by the name of Uncle Frank. Uncle Frank was 89 years old, a former Navy guy, and he just passed away. He was the oldest male in my family, and now he's gone. I've moved up. I am now the oldest male in my family of in-laws to my wife's ex-husband. So I am now the eldest. And so I get to do the prayers at Thanksgiving. And I get to do all of the ministering. And I get to talk to the young ones who are, I get to knock on their door on a regular basis. And I just got word that I'm expecting another great-grandchild. So now I'm the grown-up. And their expectations are rational. They don't know how much they frighten me. But I got you guys. I got you. Your good and bad examples are going to get me through this. I know that. I believe in Alcoholics Anonymous because I have met my higher power. He is the new CEO in my life. I've checked his resume. It's perfect. Only problem is he won't let me attend none of the meetings. He says, I got this. You don't even need to come in the building. Just take the stock options and shut the hell up. That's what's going on today in my life. I will defy anybody that is new to Alcoholics Anonymous. Whatever you want to do is fine. But I would give this thing your everything. Give it a try. Give it a good 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 20 years. Y'all thought I was going to say days, right? Yeah. Nah. Give it your whole life. And what you're going to get in return is something beyond your wildest drunken dreams. I'm pretty sure of that. Because I'm coming from experience on this. I'll tell you, a guy was trying to paint his house. He had a 2-year-old helping him. And 2-year-olds are no help. He saw a magazine. The magazine had a picture of all the continents. So he tore the magazine cover up, expecting to take the 2-year-old into the next room and have her put the puzzle together. thinking that it would take her some time and he'd get some stuff done. 10 minutes later, she comes out, finished. What? How did you do that? You know, because there were some places he wasn't sure they would need to go, you know? And she said, well, there was a man on the other side. Put the man together, the world comes together. I came into Alcoholics Anonymous with a lot of issues. And y'all said, that's great, Sterling. I think everybody, it needs to die just because you don't like it. I got that. But why don't we set that aside for a minute? Why don't we give you a God that loves you desperately? Why don't we give you a place where you can talk about bettering that relationship between that God? And why don't you give you a bunch of ready-made friends that understand where you're coming from? And then armed with all of that, you can go out and tackle the world. Well, that's what I got in Alcoholics Anonymous. I am never going to be able to pay you all back for that. I know it. But I'm going to make sure I stay in the middle and make a lot of noise because I love being seen. I'm grateful to be here sober. Thanks.